The Child and Adolescent Learner Oral Report. Topic: Human Development, Meaning, Concept, and Approaches. Developments happen is what we learn in our biology class. We have seen it to be a fantastic process, so wonderful a process that we can't help but experience a feeling of for the power of the force or the principle. This call this power or force or principle, God behind all this. What is human development? Types of domain. Physical domain means teens are growing within normative range of physical development. The cognitive domain, it comes to language development. Psychosocial domain involves emotions, personality, self-esteem, and relationship. Week 2. The stages of development and developmental tasks. The basic tasks which must be mastered at each stage of life if the individual is to achieve normal development. Types of developmental tasks. Prenatal period, from the concept to birth. Infancy, from birth to 2 years. Early childhood, end of infancy to 5 to 6 years. Grade 1. Middle and late childhood, 6 to 11 years old. Age of elementary school years. Adolescence, 10 to 12 years old of age ending up to 18 to 22 years old. Early adulthood, from late teens to early 20s lasting through the 30s. Middle adulthood, 40 to 60 years of age. Late childhood, 60 years and above. Week 3. Teachers as consume Week 3. Teachers as consumer and users of research. Teachers as researchers, the scientific method research design. Data gathering technique. It is, sim- it is sim- It is simply meant to supplement what you got or will still get in the research course. As you may have noticed, most if not all of what is presented about the development of the child and adolescent are product of research. Week 4. Developmental theories and other relevant theories. Sigmund Freud, psychosexual theory. These are called psychosexual stages because each stages represent the fixation of libido. Rowley translated as sexual drives or instinct on a different area of the body. Psychosexual stages of development. Oral stages. In the first stage of personality development, the libido is centered in a baby mouth. Anal stage. The libido now becomes focused on the anus and the child derives great pleasure from defecating. Phallic stages. Sensitivity now become concentrated in the genitals and masturbation in both sex becomes a new source of pleasure. Latency stage. No further psychosexual development takes place during this stage. Genital stages puberty to adult. This is a last stage of Freud's psychosexual theory as personality development and begins a puberty. Week 5. Piaget's stages of cognitive development. Jean Piaget's cognitive theory of development is truly a classic in the field of educational psychology. This theory fueled other researches and theories of development and learning. Basic cognitive concept, schema, assimilation, accommodation, equilibration. We have here the Piaget stages of cognitive development. Stage 1, sensory motor stage. The first stage corresponding from birth to infancy. Stage 2, pre-operational stage. Stage 3, concrete operational stage. Stage 4, formal operational stage. Week 6 is Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development. Erik Erikson was a German-born analyst who learned not only from Freud's work, but also from his study of Sioux and Europe Indians in the United States, where he spent much of his adult life as a teacher and clinical practitioner. In his work on what came to be called psychosocial theory, Erikson not only put sexual and aggressive impulse into the large context but also added adult stage to the course of development, thus becoming one of the first to view character formation as lifelong work. Week 7, Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Theory of moral development, Kohlberg's theory has been criticized for emphasizing moral truth more than moral behavior. For cultural bias, his Western definition of justice does not carry across all culture. For a perceived lack of reliability and validity in study methodology, and for its failure to consider strongly enough the role of family and culture in the development of moral reasoning. This was the summary of Kohlberg theory of moral development. Level 1, pre-conventional morality. Level 2, conventional morality. Level 3, post-conventional morality. The stage 1 is adolescent and punishment behavior driven by avoiding punishment. Stage 3 is interpersonal behavior driven by social approval. Stage 5 is social contract behavior driven by balance of social other and individual rights. Stage 2, column 3, individual interest behavior driven by self-interest and rewards. Stage 4, authority behavior driven by obeying authority and conforming to social order. Stage 6, universal ethics behavior driven by internal moral principle. Week 8, Vygotsky sociocultural theory. Vygotsky sociocultural theory grew from the work of seminal psychologist Lev Vygotsky, who believed that parents, caregivers, peers, and the culture of large were responsible for developing high-order function. According to Vygotsky, learning has its basis in the interacting with other people. This was the example or meaning. On his theory around the same time as Piaget in between the 1920s and the 30s, but they had clear difference in their views. Difference in their views about cognitive development since Piaget has taken up already in the preceding module. It would be easier now to see how views compare with Vygotsky. Week 9. Week 9. Bronfenbrenner's ecological theory. The ecological system theory was developed by Yuri Bronfenbrenner. Bronfenbrenner believed that a person's development has affected by everything in their surrounding environment he divided the person environment into five different levels: the microsystem, the mesosystem, the exosystem, the microsystem, and the chronosystem. Bronfenbrenner came up with a simple yet useful paradigm showing the different factors that expert influence on an individual development. Bronfenbrenner's biological model structure of environment. Microsystem. Microsystem is the system closest to the person and the one in which he has direct contact. The mesosystem. This layer serves as the connection between the structure of the child microsystem. The exosystem. This layer refers to the bigger social system in which the child does not function directly. Week 10. Week 10. Prenatal period. All the developmental theories which is lengthily discussed dwelt on the developmental process after birth. None of them was concerned with what development went before birth. To make the description of human development complete, it may be good to understand and begins of the child and adolescence, the learning of how it all begins the process of the development inside the womb of a mother. Terology and hazard to prenatal development is the field investigating the cause of congenital birth defect. Teratogene is that which causes birth defect. It comes from the Greek word of terra, which means monster. Prescription and non-prescription drugs. Psychoactive drugs. Environmental hazard. Maternal factor. Paternal factor. Week 11. Physical development of infant and toddlers. We have a trace the developmental process before birth. Let us continue to discover the developmental process by following the infant of newborn up to when he reach age 2. The period that comes after prenatal or antenatal stages is infancy, which in turns in followed by toddlerhood. Kepa, loquadal and proximodistal pattern. As you learn in the stages of human development, the sequadal trend is the postnatal growth from conception to 5 months when the head grows more than the body. This kepaloquadal trend growth that applies to the development of fetus also applies in the first month after birth. Week 12. Cognitive development of infants and toddlers. Babies are not only growing physically during the first 2 years of life. Now the children go through a period of dramatic growth and learning as kids interact with their environment. They are continually making new discoveries about how the world works. Week 13. Socio-emotional development of infants and toddlers. It is said the importance of the first 3 years in human development, they are so-called the formative years, where areas the parents, caregivers have a significant role in the development of the child. Week 14. Preschoolers physical development. The preschooler years is commonly known as the year before formal schooling begins. In roughly covered 3 to 5 years of age, although It is known as the years before formal school. It is by no way less important than the grade school years. The preschoolers years is very important as it lays foundation to later development. Week 15. Cognitive development of preschooler. Someone once wrote in his journal, childhood is a world of miracle and wonders as if creation rose bathed in light. Out of the darkness, utterly new, fresh, and astonishing. The end of childhood is when things cease to astonish us, when the world seems familiar, when one has got used to extents and has become adult.